Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the War on Pop Culture. I'm Special Agent Spooky Clutter,
I'm Special Agent Carter Sauce.
and
And
we are
I'm
joined once again by our guest, the King of a Nation. Hello, sir.
Hey, good evening to everybody.
So, in our continued coverage on the War on Pop Culture, today we're going to be talking about identity politics and how to ruin a franchise. Uh, So, if you guys remember from our last live stream, we were covering tokenization and going into some identity politics subjects. The thing with the war on pop culture and the thing about identity politics in particular is that things like tokenization are a part of identity politics. They are a driving force for tokenization. That being identity politics is the term that we are using to describe everything that's happening in pop culture that is using one's identity, whether that be race, gender, or sexuality, and how it's been weaponized and is being used against certain groups of people. And this isn't exclusive to a particular race or skin color, though we will be covering that tonight because there is a particular attack on a certain group of people that is happening. We're also going to be talking about a new HBO Max series that is called Santa Inc. Most of you probably have heard of this by now. You've heard a lot of news about it. And so we're going to be covering that as well because it's all relevant to the war on pop culture. It's all relevant to identity politics. Before we get started, I'm going to quickly address the chat. So we got Kyle Curtis Flett from the KCF Cinema. He says, "Hey, Caleb Carter, Mr. C, have another awesome stream, brothers." Yes, sir. Thank you for tuning in once again. Hope you enjoy tonight's episode or whenever you're watching it. And with that all being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, identity politics. Things like the LGBT community becoming a more radicalized form, I would say, Black Lives Matter, and demonizing white people for a variety of different reasons. These are some of the things that are in identity politics that we're going to be talking about. So we've seen this with the Eternals. We've seen this with Batwoman. We've seen this with other characters in comic books and superhero films, TV shows, where you're getting a lot of this representation or what they consider representation or this call for diversity and inclusion, and not just with sexuality. This is also with race and gender. What that means ultimately when you boil it down is it's less white people. White people are being demonized so much these days, it's insane. Like everything that goes wrong, particularly in the West, white people are being blamed for it in one way or another. We saw this with the Kyle Rittenhouse case. We see this with Doctor Who and demonizing white people in some of the earlier series that features the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. We saw an episode where it took place in Selma, Oklahoma. Is that Oklahoma? Right?
No,
Selma?
Alabama.
Or Alabama,
No,
sorry.
Selma, Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama.
So Selma, Alabama, with the civil rights movement. And every white person that was in that episode that was from that time period in the 60s, they were portrayed as the devil. Like they were like the nastiest, the meanest people you've ever met. And you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? What exactly is the reason for attacking white people? And that's something that we can discuss here. But
Well, that wasn't the truth on the ground there in Selma, Alabama. If you go back and look at videos, there were plenty of white people that were supporting Black Americans in their plight, which would bring in the Civil Rights Act of 1964, of course.
right. So I like to knock this out right now since we're talking about it, about the white issue. So Santa Inc. is basically the story about a elf that is very loyal to Santa Claus. And the story is that she wants to become the next Santa Claus. In the trailers that HBO Max has released on their YouTube channels, there is the politics is so heavy-handed, it almost makes me want to vomit. One of the characters in the trailer says that the Santa Claus thing has always been a white man's game. That
Right,
every
yeah.
version of Santa Claus, they were always white. And the first thing I have to ask is, okay, what's the problem with that?
So
so what? Santa Claus is white. You have other people that are famous in history, whether fictional or real, and they're not white, but yet they're celebrated. This demonization of white people is getting out of hand to the point now where literally anytime a white person does anything, you step on an eggshell wrong, white supremacy.
Yeah.
I mean, just go to CNN or go to any of these mainstream media sources, and it's always, you know, white supremacy, white privilege. You know, that's something I haven't heard in a while, but that's something that was really prevalent back in the Trump years when he was president, about white privilege, this idea that white people are more privileged or they have special features compared to other people in this country. And that's not true.
Yeah. I mean,
That's not true across the board. There might be some cases where that's happening. You might have pockets in this country that have racist people. I'm not going to deny that. What I am going to say is that these pockets of people that all these I would say hardcore leftists are afraid of, they're so minute. They don't have any real influence on society to the point where they affect national law. You know what I mean?
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, if you remember Trump, I mean, Trump surrounded himself with black people throughout his administration. I mean, they failed to look at that, and it's just a shame.
Yeah, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. You know why? Because it, like, for example, we use Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter says that Black Lives Matter unless you're a black person that doesn't agree with Black Lives Matter, in which case they'll say
Right.
that you are a race traitor. They'll use terms like Uncle Tom.
Uncle Tom. Yeah.
And you don't hear anybody criticize that, like anybody on that side of the fence, so to speak. You know, where it boils down to the big point, which is that this isn't about actually supporting these people for their, you know, for their race or whatever. It's literally a political ideology.
It's a continuation of oppression.
Yeah.
It is self, you know what I'm saying? Where they're self-imposing it for no reason
And you know,
other than
go ahead.
to, you know, score points for whatever their agenda is, because that's part of what identity politics is. It's political agenda. Okay, you know, it's based on those identities.
And it
So
weaponizes those identities too. It
right,
weaponizes them, and ultimately, this is a political issue, and it's now, or it has, and it has been for a while. It has infected entertainment. For example, the Miles Morales Spider-Man PS5 game that they released with the PS5. I never played the game, and you guys already know I'm not really a big fan of Miles Morales. We already talked about this with tokenization. I'm not a fan of tokenized characters for the most part. Miles Morales, especially. Well, in this game, they decided to put a Black Lives Matter mural in the game. I guess I don't. I guess it takes place in New York City, but you literally have a it says Black Lives Matter, and that's so annoying to me because it's not every black person is in Black Lives Matter. Okay, because Black Lives Matter is an organization that is very popular right now, still is. You know, the whole thing with George Floyd, they got extra juice to continue saying what they're saying about white privilege and this demonization of white people. And it's not just Black Lives Matter doing it. As we were saying earlier, Santa Inc. is demonizing white people. And it's just, it's jarring that this is happening and it's being allowed to happen. And because people are so afraid because, oh my God, slavery, oh my God, Jim Crow, civil rights, people don't really want to speak up because they're afraid that, oh, well, you know, black people, not all black people, but like Black Lives Matter, they say, oh, we want reparations. My reparations, right? You know,
yeah,
reparations for what exactly?
Oh, you want your reparations?
You weren't even alive to experience what was happening, especially with slavery.
yeah,
You know, like back in the 1700s, 1600s. You know,
During the time of the road to independence, so right before, because basically we were still, like, it wasn't just the black people that were slaves, it was also the English people
The
white
serfs?
people.
Yes, white
just say
people.
it. Just
Yes,
say
so
it,
white
man,
people.
because
The white people were also
enslaved too.
Exactly, and you're probably
Nobody
wondering.
wants to
and you're,
acknowledge that.
and you're probably wondering how were the white people? Were the white people enslaved? Excuse me. They lived under a tyrannical country by the name by Britain. Okay, and they decided. If you understand history, if you paid attention in history class, good for you. Then you deserve to move up to the top of the class. If not, pick up a fucking textbook before I fucking smack you with it. Here's what they did though. They were tired of being oppressed. They were tired of all this bullshit though. All this bullshit from England though. They're like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. We're gonna rebel. And so like they decided to take like, and it's like in Assassin's Creed 3, the video game. Like I forgot what the quote says. Like I'm not sure if it was in the game or if it was in like the Constitution that all like I'm not sure if it was the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence that we were either designed to be born freemen or to be slaves. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they weren't going to take it lying down though. Not to mention though that when that happened though, we declared our fucking independence though because not only were black people, like I said, black people weren't enslaved, white people were enslaved too.
Because every race under the sun has indulged in slavery at some point in their history.
Right.
And last time I checked, you didn't hear white people asking for reparations for when they were enslaved, because that idea is ludicrous. Because for a lot of people, none of us were alive when this happened. Okay. And I'm not going to be holding people of the past responsible for how things are today, because things today are a hell of a lot better than they were back then. So basically you need to let
progress.
You need progress. Progressive, right? Oh, I'm a progressive. What does that mean exactly?
Progress has been made.
I mean, it doesn't mean what it used to mean anymore.
Yeah.
If we're being honest here.
Well, liberal, the term liberal doesn't mean what it used to be either. It seems to have gone like to socialism,
and that's the problem, because there are still people that are trapped in a matrix, okay? And it's not entirely their fault. You have people that are liberal, but they're not the liberal that we're seeing the extremists of. Your Joe Bidens of the world, your AOCs, okay? These people that are loud about their opinions on these things, or what they consider to be fact, undeniable, agree with me or you're a racist or whatever.
Right.
Okay. You have to acknowledge that there are people on both sides of the political spectrum that do not agree with everything that their party says, which is why I would say that I don't like to label myself with anything in particular, because both sides have good and bad in there. And plus titles make labeling people and accusing people of things much easier. It's a lot more difficult when you have a conversation with somebody and they say, "Oh, you're probably just a Trump-loving conservative." It's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not a conservative. I didn't vote for Trump a second time. Sorry. I wanted to believe in the man, but I was reminded of why the system is fucked in the first place.
So how can we relate this back to I know we went off on a tangent here, but to get back to Spider-Man.
Well, it's not just Spider-Man. It's just
everything in particular.
Pop culture in general.
Yeah.
We already talked briefly about Doctor Who. Let's see, what else? Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a prime example of identity politics in film. Ghostbusters 2016. You guys already know. We did a watch along of it. The movie is absolute dog shit.
No.
I don't care. I don't care.
I'm sorry. It's not. I am so sorry. It's just that it's not dog shit. You know what it is? It is a Chernobyl dumpster fire train wreck, is what it is.
Okay, go ahead there, Spooky.
There. Okay, so what I want this to be over. I'm tired of the politics being weaponized. Politics in entertainment. Look, there have always been politics in entertainment in some form or another. The difference between what it was back in, say, like the 70s, the 80s, and maybe even earlier, is that it wasn't as in your face per se, more so compared to these days. Because these days, every movie, every TV show, every video game, any form of pop culture has to have diversity and inclusion, aka less white people. Now, most people are fine with representation because when it happens naturally, nobody complains about it. Aliens, Terminator, Predator. Hell, let's look at Predator for a second.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a more diverse group of people like I have with Predator. There
Yeah.
have been like the Expendables. You got a lot of diverse people, and that the Expendables was kind of trying to resurrect that '80s action franchise type thing. But Predator is a great example. You got at least one Hispanic guy. You got an Austrian. You got a couple black guys. You got some Americans. You got a Native American. That's a pretty diverse group. And
Yeah.
I don't remember people
love Billy.
complaining about that. I don't think anybody was really complaining about the fact that there's two black guys in the group. In fact, a lot of people remember Carl Weathers, for Rocky, or
Great
people
guy.
remember Bill Duke for Commando.
Yep.
Right? Obviously, we know Arnold
Great
Schwarzenegger,
actor.
Terminator, and such. So nobody had problem with diversity, at least not like that. Maybe early on, I won't deny it, early on in our history, but we're not talking about early on in our history. We're talking about right now.
Right fucking now.
The progressive era, or the era where everybody is practically welcomed. But what I'm noticing is that it's not good enough. You give somebody an inch, they take a mile. You give
Yeah.
representation, but then they want more. It's like if a show or a movie doesn't have any kind of diversity, then there's a problem. The way
Yeah.
I see it, if you want to make a movie that it has exclusively black people, I don't have a problem with that. You go tell your story. Storytelling. That's what making movies is. You're telling a story. Okay. If you're making a movie about Norse mythology, I expect to see zero white or black people or anybody that's non-white. If we're going based off of Norse mythology, most of the time you're going to be noticing fair-skinned people, and that's okay. For when you have black Asgardians, for example, like Heimdall, I like Idris Elba. Idris Elba is a great actor,
But
but Heimdall isn't a black guy. I'm sorry.
That's just as bad as saying, "Hey, man, we're the white Zulus." No, there are no white Zulus in Africa. Okay, they're
Right.
black. And Chaka Khan was one of the top ones. Bad guy, but that's another story.
Right. So
It's crazy.
this idea about diversity and inclusion is just it's ruining films. And if you guys weren't here, I would assume that most of you were. I just did an interview with Peter Anthony, who directed the Friday the 13th fan film Roseblood. Okay, that film had some good diversity in it, but you know what? They didn't sell that fan film as a diversity movie. They literally sold it as a Friday the 13th fan film, and it turned out to be a very excellent film. What I'm advocating for is films that aren't preachy, films that don't sell diversity as a way to get people into seats, because that's not what happens. We're seeing this with the Eternals. We're seeing this with Doctor Who. We've seen this with Shang-Chi. The movies, they're not performing very well. Obviously, they're Marvel films, and people are still sort of in this blind consumer mindset. So it's going to make money, obviously. I don't think anybody was ever going to say that these things aren't making money. It's just not making as much money as some earlier products, like the early days of the MCU, where it was making a lot more money because people were really excited to see these characters come to life on screen.
Right.
The early days of Doctor Who were really good. You had the Christopher Eccleston era, the David Tennant era, Matt Smith era.
Matt Smith.
But now
Capaldi
Dr.
was
Who's-
in the.
Yeah, it was sort of. But that,
Well,
I mean,
you
it
remember you
started,
talked.
started going downhill.
I'm sorry for
with
interrupting you, but I
Capaldi.
want to touch on this with the Doctor Who thing, that they went back and retconned the
Yeah.
origin, right?
Yeah, so with the 13th Doctor, they had an episode called The Timeless Children, and they redefined the Time Lords. They redefined who the Doctor was. Turns out that the Doctor was never a Time Lord. He was a different race entirely. Oh, and William Hartnell, the very first Doctor that a lot of people watched back in 1963. Okay.
Yeah, 63.
Yeah. He. It turns out he wasn't even a Time Lord, and it turns out he wasn't even the first iteration of the Doctor.
Bull fucking shit.
Okay.
So he gets shit on.
Yeah, and it turns out that
Terrible.
the regenerations are all diverse. Like the Doctor was actually killed multiple times because the Doctor has the ability to regenerate. That's what was the ability of the Time Lords. But then they changed the shit, and that I mean it completely fucked Doctor Who. I mean you just go to I recommend going to Nerdrotic on YouTube. That guy is a very big Doctor Who fan. He's been covering these things. Um, Cultivated Media, formerly Bolstrek, Bowl and then Trek, like Star Trek. He was covering the episodes too. It was bad for what happened with Doctor Who, and
Yes, it was.
it happened with Ghostbusters. It happened with
Well,
Star Wars in a way.
I mean, they just doubled down too. They're even after the fan blowback, they just kept pushing and pressing.
Right.
So,
So Rusty says diversity is good if it's natural. There was no black kids in the Cranberries video of the song Zombie because there was no black kids at the event it's written about. Keep it sane. He says, I would have been offended if there had been in the video. I mean, yeah, look, most people don't have a problem with diversity because you see diversity everywhere you go. Whenever you go to work, you go to the grocery store, you see people with different backgrounds. Okay. Are you going to have people that are prejudiced against certain groups of people? Yes. But here's the thing, man. Now, this is just for everybody. And this is for anything in life, not just, your race, gender, sexuality. The thing that you have to remember in life is that the world is not sunshine and rainbows. The world is filled with a lot of bad things, but it's also filled with good things. And no one is ever going to fully accept you for who you are. It doesn't matter how many laws you try to make. Like, for example, in Canada, and I think even in California, they're trying to make laws that you could go to jail for misgendering somebody. Okay, that's
insanity.
That's stupid. You're going to
Yeah.
send somebody to jail for misgendering somebody, the same place where you send criminals, murderers, rapists. Really? You're going to really equate that? It's retarded. Okay, and this is the problem: is that you start feeding these things in, you start putting ideas in people's heads that, oh well, you should blindly accept anybody for being diverse because diversity is our strength. It's
How
like
about fucking no?
You never blindly take things, and that goes for anything. You don't blindly accept things and take things. You always want to be able to have a side of caution. It's natural. It's natural. So going to jail for misgendering somebody.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
That-
off the charts.
You know what that sort of reminds me of?
Rusty
I think-
says that LOL, that's retarded. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It reminds me of a little practice back in Russia called communism. Now, here's the thing, though, about diversity in Russia, though. Like, let me just give you a fucking example of, like, why going to jail just for misgendering someone in Canada is fucking stupid, though. It's like fucking communism. You say you don't do how it's supposed to do, or you speak out against it, you're probably either going to get sent to a gulag or you're going to get fucking shot or made an example of. It's that
Yeah.
fucking stupid.
Put out in Siberia, right, Carter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rusty says, I'm not calling an individual they, no matter how much they tell me to. Yeah.
No shit.
Like,
See-
when I've heard
see
of they did not, as in, like, I'm like not referring to a person as an individual as they. I'm like referring to like plural, like a bunch of individuals. Like they
look
did
like
not
a bunch of rednecks.
exactly.
that-
Exactly. Take a lesson in grammar. Like, where's the fuck? Where the
It's
fuck
like
is the,
it's almost like people are going to accuse you of being a grammar Nazi, but the neo Nazis are still a thing, and apparently the neo Nazis are so dangerous that, oh my god, you have a bunch of neo Nazis that are protesting. Oh my god, it's the end of the world. It's like, you know what?
Do you know? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know what? The reality of the situation is America has many different groups of people here, and even the white people aren't in agreement with neo Nazis. And the neo Nazis don't have as much power as you think. I always tell
Well,
people.
hang on.
This.
Let me interject something here, okay? They literally infiltrated the federal government did, as corrupt as they are, but they infiltrated the neo Nazis, and by the late '90s, it was over. So,
I mean, you still have these skinheads running around, and people say,
Yeah,
"Oh my
but
god, the neo Nazis are still here. They're still." They still have so
Yeah.
much power. It's like, no, they don't.
No, they don't.
Because
Not at
this is the question you have to ask people. Okay, if America is systemically racist like they say it is, how is it that we got a black man to be elected in one of the most powerful political positions in all the free world twice?
all. Yeah. He was selected too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that is if you believe
Yeah.
that our votes actually matter. But you get my point.
Right. He
We
got a lot of votes.
elected a black man as president twice. On top of
Twice.
that, you have state representatives, you have senators, you have judges that are non-white. Okay. America is diverse, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to say that, oh, diversity is our strength. There is strength in diversity, but diversity in and of itself is not our strength, if that makes some sense.
Yeah, everybody has an individual skill, talent, or ability, and I think that's what brings the unification of people, the diverseness that you see. I mean, you know,
Speaking on the transgender thing, and this is directly related to pop culture stuff. So let's talk about sports. Okay, when you have transgendered women, aka men, participating in
Dressed up as a woman.
yeah, when you have them participating in sports events against
It's
women,
terrible.
and
Yeah.
the transgender women win, why do you think that is? It's
Well, 'cause they're
because you
fucking
have
guys.
women going against men. A
You
man.
got a guy with a scrotum winning.
And from a biological standpoint, the men are much more fit than the women. And that's just basic science. And
It's science.
and you even have women complaining about it. You have women that say that this is wrong, that a transgender woman can participate in the same sport. They can call themselves woman or she or her all they want, all he wants. But that doesn't change the fact that he's biologically a man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely different.
And
And
Totally
he can't
talking-
get pregnant either.
Yeah, and talking about transgender stuff, still, Dave Chappelle. Okay, Dave Chappelle is a funny guy. He said some things I don't agree with, but who agrees with everybody 100% of the time? Okay, that's fine. But what I want to pay
Sometimes.
attention to is the fact that Dave Chappelle makes jokes about everybody. He makes jokes about black people, white people, all this stuff. Okay, so he gets canceled for making jokes about trans people. Now, you had some trans comedians actually come to bat for him to support him, and that just shows that it's not so black and white. But the idea that a faceless mob can get people canceled is just it's not unbelievable. It's very much believable, but it's still stupid.
Let me tell you what, if you go back and listen to Eddie Murphy, which I highly suggest you do, especially go listen to Raw, Eddie Murphy Raw, man, they would have crucified him. I'm surprised they haven't gone after Eddie Murphy. I'm shocked.
Oh, maybe he kind of went on the apology train.
Oh God.
So Rusty says they only have power to gather a small 30 to 50 person rally and kill someone to make a noise, but overall they are not powerful. Only some of their ideas appeal to a larger group that don't go as far.
Well, like, can we talk about, since he mentioned that, it made me think about the riots, right?
The ones that happened
Minnesota?
because of George Floyd and
Yeah, exactly.
about Kenosha. Yeah.
Versus, say, the rally of a bunch of, I guess, white, I don't know who they were, that happened in West Virginia or the state of Virginia.
Oh, are you talking about the one that with the Confederate statue or that one?
The Confederate
Yeah.
flag.
killed?
They
Confederate
actually had a
flag.
permit, but what I'm saying is that they didn't call the riots riots. They called them protests, and they were destroying property in their own neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
Okay. And they never ever really talked about people's skin color either in those incidents. Yeah, there was different. I mean, it was, I hate to say the word diverse, but it was a majority of darker skin that were hitting these places up. But they wouldn't dare say anything about that. But you get some white guys together or white people, and nobody really knows what their message was other than for the statue, I think. They actually got a permit, and then the cops kind of set it up to where they would have a run-in with Antifa, I think, and some
Oh,
BLM
yeah.
members.
Oh yeah. Also,
Yeah.
so let me ask
Interesting.
you something. So this group called Antifa, short for anti-fascism. So you guys say you're anti-fascist, but you're using fascist tactics.
Yeah.
That makes no sense, though. How could you
Just like-
be how could you be anti-fascist if you're how could you be protesting against something that you don't agree with, but you're using its tactics? That makes no sense, though.
Yeah. You can go
Like,
back to the Bolshevik. Yeah, go ahead, Carter.
like, and these protests or these Black Lives Matter protests. Let me tell you the definition of a protest. Protest, noun, a statement or action expressing disapproval or objection to something. That's a protest. If you are just standing in the middle of the, like standing on the sides though, and you're just protesting, holding picket signs and bullhorns, explaining this and stuff, that's considered a protest. Now, let me tell you something. The definition of a riot. Riot, noun, the violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd, or the impressively large or varied display of something. Like an example, though, like those protests or these air quote protests that are happening, like during the Floyd case. Those weren't protests; those were fucking riots, though. Like take an example from remember do you remember the Rodney King? Rodney King. Remember when he got jumped by those 4 white cops, and
Mhm.
the judge found out that the cops were not guilty. They fucking rioted against that. That's called because you heard of the Rodney King riots.
Right. Yeah.
Those were called the Rodney King riots, though. Totally. So what's the difference? So if you call a riot a protest, you're not paying attention, or you just flunked out of grade school. You need to get your ass back in there.
Well, you know what? Let's go a step further. Let's talk about what happened in Kenosha with Kyle Rittenhouse. So, obviously, we know that Kyle Rittenhouse was there because he was trying to protect. What was he trying to protect? He was trying to protect businesses. He was there to provide aid and support.
Yeah,
You
first
see
aid.
him.
Yeah.
You see him on video saying this. Okay, he was also there earlier in the day wiping off graffiti. Okay, the thing is that the cops in Kenosha were told to stand down when these people started rioting, and at that point, when the law is told to stand down and not defend, to serve and protect, right? What do you do? And how can you say, well, he shouldn't have been there? Well, first of all, who are you to say whether or not he should have been there? Okay, he's doing what he thought was right, what many people thought was right, and he had to defend himself in the end. When they got to the trial, I watched some of it. I couldn't watch it all because I was getting disgusted by it. The prosecutor, first of all, he was a jackass. And the reason why I mention this is because one of the things he was trying to spin was that Kyle Rittenhouse, oh yeah, did you ever play the game Call of Duty? And this goes back to something that I have a problem with when it comes to the conservative party is when you have the argument about gun violence, you have the left that says that video games aren't the problem, it's the guns. Then you got the conservative side of things that says, well, guns are the problem, video games are the problem. That annoys the ever-loving crap out of me. It annoys me every time I hear it. Every time I hear it.
And to be honest, though, if I was Kyle Rittenhouse's one of his attorneys, and that jackass was making that dumbass prosecutor was making a statement like, "You ever played the game Call of Duty?" I would have been like, "Objection! Why is this relevant?"
Yeah.
It was sad that people got killed, but think about if you look at the guys that got killed, man, they had an interesting background.
Yeah, not to mention they were literally gang assault on him. They were trying to jump him.
Yeah. I mean, the footage speaks for itself. But the whole thing about the whole video game spin, that just annoyed the shit out of me because I hear that all the time. Not all the time, but like Trump said it before about, violent video games. It's like, you know what? It starts with the people and the families first, and then you go and blame on entertainment. It's like, you know what? Video games weren't around forever,
Yeah.
People were doing violent things back in the 1700s. Video games weren't a thing. Movies weren't a thing like they are today. It's it's not.
Yeah, like they blame the Columbine shooting on video games, which is fucking bullshit, though.
That was a Ritalin they were on. They were on a lot of drugs, those guys. Hey, can you talk about maybe the little bit about the recent case of Jussie Smollett? He was found guilty today.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Because he said that he got attacked, right?
Well, yeah, it was
By
a
MAGA hat wearing people saying that. What did they
right.
say? Oh, this is MAGA country.
Yeah, and they were in a pretty salty area of Chicago, which you're not going to find MAGA hat wearing white guys. And he hired a couple Nigerian guys to go get masks, I guess, and other paraphernalia to put on to hide who they were, to like stage the event that never ever happened on him.
That's
So,
amazing. And I find it very hilarious that people were saying, "Oh my God, Trump Trump is radicalizing people." They attacked Jussie Smollett, an actor, while he's going to Subway in the middle of the night.
and it was the temperature, the weather was just terrible too, but he would have never been out there by himself.
Hell fucking no.
Let's go ahead and address the chat, shall we? Let's see. Rusty says, "No progressive I know agrees with the stupid, violent video game crap the idiot prosecutor used." He also says, "We won't agree on that. He was there to play soldier and engaged in many illegal activities to be there. So we'll not agree on him. He's a murderer. I watched every second of the trial." Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we won't agree, but yeah, I think that the evidence speaks for itself, the video. Anyway, Rusty also says, "Unfortunately, as firefighters will tell you, sometimes the only way to fight a forest fire, is with fire. So that's the foundation for that particular issue. They respond to anything else, sadly."
My question is how did he get isolated by himself
I
to
have no
even
idea.
have that ever happen? I'm not going to lie. Well, until I saw the person get shot, there's a possibility that this whole damn thing could have been staged, But I think that dude's bicep did get blown off. So, and
Oh yeah, and plus, I
people did
mean,
die, yeah.
the guy, one of the guys that was killed, he was a fucking pedophile. He was a pedophile, and people are saying, "Oh, he would have been alive today if it wasn't for that white supremacist kid." It's like,
Yeah.
dude,
Excuse
first
me.
of all, the guy Rosenbaum was a damn pedophile.
The
first of all.
media was trying to portray it like he killed black people.
People actually believe that Kyle Rittenhouse did kill black people.
What the hell is
Which
that?
is-
That's
ridiculous.
bull fucking shit.
So we also have Danner in the chat. What's going on, Danner? He says, "I played GTA 3 when I was 9, never shot anyone, never stole a car or beat a prostitute. The blame entertainment rhetoric is pathetic and is always wrong."
There
By
you
the
go.
way-
Absolutely.
By
I
the way,
agree.
hello there.
Oh,
Hello,
what?
General Danner. You are a bold one.
General
thank
Danner.
Thank you for stopping by.
Your
But yes, you're
destiny.
absolutely right, Danner.
Me.
This blame entertainment rhetoric is pathetic. It is stupid. I can't count how many times I've played video games that have been very violent or crazy, and I haven't gone out and done any of that stuff. We always like to celebrate in our entertainment because we find entertainment entertaining,
Yeah.
right? And we hate it when we get movies and TV shows and stuff that lecture us about politics, identity politics, saying that, "Oh, you need to be more diverse and inclusive of other people." It's like, you know what? If anybody likes what I like, hey, that's cool. That doesn't mean that every single thing that exists has to have representation. Okay, you have it like, for example, you have like BET, Black Entertainment Tonight. I don't think anybody complains that there's an entire channel on cable that is dedicated to Black stories. Or on Netflix and Hulu, you have an entire subgenre of LGBT films. I don't see people complaining about that, or at
Or
least complaining
Telemundo.
about, or at least not complaining about it enough to where it's like, "Oh my God, this is a national issue," and LGBT community or BET, Black people are being oppressed. So even though you still have that in the media, that they're being oppressed. And the thing is that you keep telling these people that they're oppressed, they're going to end up believing it. It's like you tell a lie long enough, people will eventually accept it as the truth. And that's what's happening. You're not encouraging positivity and growth. You're encouraging people that the system is rigged against them, and therefore they need to protest it instead of actually trying to better their situation where possible. Not by rioting, not by stealing shit and taking advantage of a tragic event that happened. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. Also, another thing of identity politics. Hold on.
Yeah, so Rusty says, "I got 2,000 games on Steam alone, and I'm an expert at COD, Battlefield, CSGO, etc. Never killed anyone yet. LOL or LMAO." Yeah, No, I
And
got you.
I know what you're saying though. Anyway, though, as part of identity politics, though, like let me give you some examples of identity politics that ruin franchises. Well, let me give you one big fat fucking example: Terminator Dark Fate, or as I call it, Shit Fate.
Lay
Oh
it on
my
us, Carter.
God.
Tell us.
Oh.
Tell us why.
Okay, so long story short, before this long, okay, so me and Caleb, we were there was a convention going on in town, and we were
Comic-Con.
yeah, our Comic Con was going. There was this Comic Con going on, and we were checking out the list of guests of who was going to be there, and lo and behold, Edward Furlong, the guy who played John Connor from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, was going to be there along with Dan Cooksey, the redheaded friend of John Connor who didn't rat to the T1000. We were supposed to be there. We were supposed to meet Edward Furlong, but no, he canceled at the last second because he had to go film Dark Fate, though. And we were sort of excited, though, to go see Dark Fate. But as soon as we saw the flashback, like, now we saw, like I love the opening, though, when we seeing the tapes of Sarah Connor and Pescadora. But then when we see after the events of Judgment Day that this Terminator, that Skynet's in another Terminator back in time, not to protect John. Good.
Continue.
Good. There you go. Good answer. Anyway, so then we thought that okay, so Skynet was destroyed. Skynet is destroyed. We blew up Cyberdyne. It's all over. Terminators are gone. We could go live our lives peacefully. But no, they decided to kill off John fucking Connor though in the first few minutes of the movie though, like with they sent like a Terminator that like a guardian Terminator or Uncle Bob, except they called him Carl later on. They killed him off though, and it's
Terrible.
like what the fuck? This is the leader of the human resistance though, and you decide to kill him off though after all those years. Like, so what? To the Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, those two movies oh,
They're meaningless.
meaningless. Oh, just like nope, just throw them out the window and just restart it. And then after
You replace John Connor with an even better female version because yes, queen, yes, girl power, right?
yeah, exactly. No, that's not going to apply though. Not to
Smash
mention
the patriarchy.
let me tell you something though. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure they killed him off though because he was a white man. Let me tell you something. Not to mention, you have the audacity to kill a fucking kid though. But unfortunately, it wasn't really John Connor though. It wasn't Edward Furlong. It was just a kid, dude. But anyway,
yeah, but they used his face though.
He-
It
His
was a
facial-
white man that killed him, by the way.
yes, it was a white man.
White
that
on white
killed-
crime, guys.
white on white crime though. But anyway, they
No,
kill
you know
off
what?
like
Wait,
he's supposed.
just a quick side note. That one episode of Family Guy, where Peter shoots Cleveland Brown Jr. Cleveland says, "You want to know how you can get rid of the media? Just tell them to talk about black on black crime,
Yeah.
and the media is gone." And that's true.
Right.
That's absolutely true. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Carter.
Anyway, so this so John Connor, the great leader of the human resistance, just totally gets fucking whacked by a fucking Terminator, and that's it. And then later on, that there's this new Skynet, like it's a new version of this new AI, which is basically fucking great value Skynet. They sent a Terminator back in time to kill the new leader of the human resistance, who is a girl named I forgot her name though. Danny.
Yeah, you know why?
Yeah,
You know why? You know why you forgot her name, Carter? Because she's that forgettable.
Yes, she is though. Her name is Danny. Not to mention she's a girl, and she's from Mexico. And before you say, "Oh my God, he's racist," no, I'm fucking not though. Like, I'm not. This is like diversity.
How about you just tell the people that
This
is
bitch.
it possible? No, tell them this. Is it possible for a Mexican to hate other Mexicans? Yeah, but not
yes.
because they're Mexican. It's like, why would I hate myself for being Hispanic? Like, oh, I'm racist against my own people. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that makes no fucking sense though. Not to mention though that she just has she has no training. She works in a factory.
Yeah. So Danner says the progressive definition of diversity is boiled down to tokenism. They only see in skin color and gender, yet they have the sheer audacity to call the audience the bigots. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why that's why I don't really. I know a lot of people love Miles Morales Spider-Man. I don't. I really don't. He's literally a tokenized Peter Parker Spider-Man. Spider-Man has always been one man, and that is Peter Parker. If you can like whatever characters you want. I'm not telling you what you can and can't like. It's just I'm not gonna see Miles Morales as a legit Spider-Man because there's only one Spider-Man. Invent new characters that are diverse.
Right.
Okay.
There you go.
And I will never
encourage creativity. That's what
Yeah.
we were talking about.
That's where it's at.
And that's what we were talking about in our stream earlier tonight with Peter Anthony, is that get in the creative space, because Hollywood is slowly but surely dying off, and there needs to be a new, basically we need to fill the void that's going to be left behind, and it's already happening. Happening.
They're not only dying off, but as a side note, they got their actors knocking off people on stage.
Yeah, that
in live shoots.
That whole thing. Rusty says we have a lot of folks in the Senate and Congress and local who want to harm blacks and gays. They just can't get it passed, but they certainly do. They do certainly try.
He would be shocked to know that there's a lot of congressmen that are gay.
Yeah, look, I have no doubt that there are people that are like that. Here's the thing. I do not find it legitimate to say that the LGBT community is being oppressed by the government per se, when you have the governments, like, for example, the United Nations. They're flying the rainbow flag outside of the embassies. You have the president of the United States, whether you agree with him or not, he says that he supports the LGBT community. Again, this boils back down to if you even really believe what they say. But at the very least, you can say that there's a lot of representation for the LGBT community. For example, you have lots of local governments and national that support the LGBT community. Make of that what you will. I look at that and I say, okay, the oppression that people are facing is most likely on the lower end levels, like locally. If it's happening on a national scale, like they say it is, we would be seeing a hell of a lot more of it. There'll be a hell of a lot of protests. You know why? Because you have Black Lives Matter protests going all the time. When George Floyd was killed, how many protests erupted because of that? Think about what happened in Oregon. You remember what happened in Oregon, where they literally sanctioned off a piece of the city and tried to do their own thing? Right?
Let me tell you something. Why doesn't Black Lives Matter get on blacks and white congressmen and women on why are they keeping people in these that are impoverished? Why aren't they opening up opportunities to bring business in to create jobs and businesses? Why? Because they want to keep people oppressed to get their vote and then make them feel like they're a victim.
And you know what? That's very much similar to how the pharmaceutical industry works, that they don't work on curing people's diseases. They work on temporary fixes. And I think that it's fair to say that's how the political system is operating, and they're using the entertainment to do it.
Yeah, entertainment media is at the forefront of the destruction. And that, you know what this does is it breaks down into tribalism. And I'm going to tell you right now, even the Native Americans fought against each other. Go back and do your history. But yet they did come together at other times. But this type of tribalism is a dividing thing. We're no longer looking at each other as Americans, but we're looking at each other for our skin color, our
sexuality, gender.
It's terrible.
All these things.
It doesn't end well. And
yeah.
So
Rusty says, I can't stand many folks and many cultures, as is my right to. It's okay because it's not about supremacist reasons. I can hate whomever I want. I just can't harm or oppress them because of it. Yeah,
that's true. Absolutely.
Danner says, do writers not see the sexism and gender swapping already established male characters? What does that say about you as a writer when you can't craft your own original female characters from scratch? Danner, you are absolutely right. That is, you hit it spot on. He has a quote. He says, I hate capitalism. Oh, but now that big corporation that runs sweatshops in China changed the icon on their Twitter to rainbow logo. Let's go buy some overpriced sneakers. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, dude.
Uh,
I mean, that you're getting it. You're
Oh.
you're understand. You already know, because what happens every time Pride Month comes around? What do these corporations do? They change their social media logos to have the rainbow flag. But it's like, yeah, some of those countries where those businesses are, they don't change their rainbow flags either. Not that it really matters necessarily, but it just shows that they don't care about real representation. They're just using that shit to sell their crap.
divide and conquer. What were you going to say, Carter?
Overpriced sneakers, right?
Yep. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. Another part of identity politics I'd like to talk on: the use of not enough strong women. Now, let me give you one fucking example of one I fucking hate with a fucking passion.
Arrgh.
Vice Admiral fucking Holdo from Star Wars: The Last Jedi, or as I like to call it, The Last Fuck Up.
The last
This
fuck.
woman, let me tell you something. This woman, there was a certain backstory on her, on like what she did and all that other stuff, though. But it turns out, though, she is representing an SJW. She's got like
the
she's
purple
got
hair,
the purple hair,
the
the
weird
fucking
ass
long,
ball gown,
yeah, the weird ass ball gown, the
the
fucking
fact that she
halo.
was shitting all over Poe Dameron.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like you didn't realize that this is the guy that destroyed Starkiller Base, and you're shitting on him.
He's
Really?
the top fighter pilot in the galaxy at that time.
He's the best. I didn't realize we had the best fighter pilot in the Resistance on board.
Sit
Oh,
your
Oh, really,
patriarchal ass
Kylo?
down.
Really? Well, you might want to reevaluate that, Kylo, because apparently, according to Admiral Holdo, she's.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't Leia come in there and say, sit your... She didn't say it, but she did it. Sit
She
your
said.
ass
She
now,
said
Poe
no.
Dameron.
She said that not every issue can be solved by jumping into your cockpit.
Right.
Yes,
And
exactly.
shot his
Anyway,
ass.
Anyway, as I was saying, though, not to
Terrible.
mention though, she was demoralizing. Poe Dameron because he's just a hotshot male, though. Like, ooh, just because you're a hotshot doesn't mean just because you're a hotshot dude, though, doesn't mean you can like win me over, though. He thinks that it's just like she thinks it's just a fucking joke, though. Not to mention, she like when Poe Dameron is worried for the safety of the Resistance. Like, he's fucking worried for the safety of the Resistance, and he's coming to her asking her, "Do we have a plan or not?" And she just
Yeah.
blows him off, though. It's like, get this guy off.
I tell you, the
Get
plan...
this guy off. Get this guy off my bridge, though. Not to mention, Poe Dameron had the audacity to tell her that you are withholding information, and you're just letting us, and you're refueling the ships, like the shuttles, to escape. Not only are you running away, you are also a coward and a traitor, which I approve Poe Dameron for calling her ass out for that. What?
Hey, Dad, what is it? Maybe Poe should have just trusted the plan, right?
Trust the plan.
Oh yeah,
Saw
trust the plan.
Saw where that got him.
Yeah, excuse me. What was the plan in the first place? Tell us that. Trust the plan, though. Excuse me.
You.
Are you not aware of this?
Johnny.
Like to be honest, though, I would have been like Bill Paxton from
17th
Alien.
letter.
I would have been like Bill Paxton and Aliens in that situation. I would be like, excuse me,
plan.
if you are not aware of current situations, two of our ships are destroyed.
What?
We lost most of the Resistance, though. We're running on fumes. The First Order is right on our fucking ass.
Hey, wait a minute. What did Paxton say? Hang on. He told the little
What?
girl, "We'll put her in charge."
Oh yeah, we'll put her in charge.
Like,
Danner asked, "Who's worse, Holdo or Rose?"
Both.
You know, that's a.
Fucking both.
I mean, if we had to make a choice, the one I think I found more annoying was Rose, just because we focused a lot more on her than we did on Holdo in a way. Plus, Holdo wasn't as preachy in the political sense as Rose was, because once they got to Canto Bight, it was fucking over. She was talking about slavery, animal abuse, and all that garbage, nonsense, BS crap. And then Rose decides to fuck up on Finn's heroic moment, which would have been a very emotional thing. Finn is about to sacrifice himself for the Resistance. Rose comes in, interrupts that, almost killing them both, and gives one of the most cringy lines of dialogue that I have ever had the displeasure of hearing. And I don't think that this, I mean, eventually it will be topped, but for right now, this line, it's disgusting. It's how we win, not fighting what we hate, saving what we love. Excuse me. Let's see. So if I want to save what I love, don't I have to fight against something that I hate in order
Tell
to do
Lando
so?
tell Lando Calrissian that when he flew into the Death Star and opened up.
Yeah, you know what?
Destroyed it.
Speaking on Lando, apparently he has a thing for robots too.
Androids.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Solo. The Star Wars
Yeah.
story. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He wanted to
Anyway,
bang. He wanted to bang his robot companion.
his
Damn.
Like
android.
that. How? Like I don't even. All right. Rusty says you cannot have an upper class if you erase the lower class. You have no one to step on or feed off of. Unfortunately, the requirements to elite top 5% require a bottom 95% to look down on.
That's right.
Yes. Anyway,
And
as I
then
was saying,
Rusty,
though,
hold on, let me finish reading through these comments. When Rusty says when they remade Stephen King's The Stand into a PC joke, all of them from the writers to the actors should have been criminally charged. I never saw
That's
it,
funny.
and I guess maybe I shouldn't. I'll take your advice on it, Rusty, on watching that. Danner says what really sucks is that Holdo's courageous suicide prevented Rose's execution.
Damn, that's true.
yes,
he says I'd rather listen to Anakin talk about how much he hates sand. That's true.
exactly.
You know that dialogue may be cringy, but you know what? At least he wasn't being preachy about politics.
Exactly. Anyway, as I was saying though, that like the bitch decided to hold off and like I would have been like Bill Paxton and the aliens on the bridge to Holdo. Like, if you're not aware of current situations, we're getting our asses kicked. Like 90% of our fleet is destroyed. Like the First Order is on our ass. We're running on fumes, and we don't have a plan though. What is it like? What is the plan? What do we do? Like we put
Hey
out a
man,
distress
I don't want to
signal.
rain on your parade, but we're not going to last 17 hours. That's the
That's
line.
Exactly.
the letter Q. Trust the plan.
Trust
Yeah,
that
but
plan.
that's not. But it's not the plan, though. Tell me, what are we going to do? Are we going to wait for them to capture us, or just destroy us?
No. Here's the plan. We're gonna let Rey, the ultra uber super Mary Sue god like being, come in on the Millennium Falcon and rescue us all because we can't fend for ourselves. Because it's not about fighting what we hate; it's about saving what we love. And what we
Yeah.
love is an overpowered Mary Sue who can do anything. Which
Why
means I can't. I mean, that's the best thing to relate to,
Can't-
right? An all-powerful super being that can't make any mistakes, and everybody loves her. Yes,
How-
that is how you positively encourage people. Is that
Why-
everyone's going to love you no
How did-
matter what?
How did she get away with beating up Finn with a stick and they let that fly? And he
Yeah. Or a staff, actually, and not
Rey-
to mention though,
Ray who?
right?
Ray
He got-
Skywalker.
he got cane pulled.
Bullshit. Yeah. Not to mention
Trusted
that.
plan.
Why didn't Admiral Holdo tell Poe what they were doing though? That we are going to. We're going to. We're going to. What? Fuck! I forgot the name of that planet though.
What, Canto Bite or
No,
Crate?
the Crate. We're going to Crate. Oh, you know. Oh, so it would have been nice if Holdo would have said, "Oh, we're going to Crate." Though there's an abandoned rebel base out there during the time against the Civil War against the Empire. Like, just tell us that. Keep it simple though. Tell us where we're going. Oh, if I was in charge though, like I would have been like, "Oh, there's an abandoned rebel outpost on the planet Crate though that was used during the time of the Civil War against the Empire. We're gonna hide out there until they're going to think that we're chasing this ship, or we're actually going to sneak off and hide there because they think they destroyed us, but we're actually surviving them." And then, like, it would have been that fucking simple. Just tell us what we're going to do, so we didn't have to send an ex-stormtrooper and a who now are doing what now. But like, no,
Yeah.
just like
Let's
hold it off at the last second, though. 'cause
Let us go ahead and save that for whenever we do our Rise of Skywalker watch along. We'll complain more about it then.
like,
But as
you
a final
stupid
note before we
fucking
wrap up
cunt.
this stream, if you guys haven't watched or heard of Santa Inc., first of all, watch at your own risk. I wouldn't suggest watching it because I heard that it's complete dog shit. But it's Santa Inc. is one of the more modern examples of how Hollywood is failing. They literally want to change Santa Claus from being a white guy to having a Jewish elf girl be Santa Claus. Because apparently having Santa Claus as a jolly fat white guy is problematic. I mean, I never heard that anybody complained about that before. Maybe I'm just new to all this. Maybe it's like an old mind. Although I do find it interesting that I can have an old mind even though I'm only 24 years old. But yeah, Santa Inc. Don't go watch it. Just like go watch the trailer. so you can see how bad it is. Then when you look at the trailer, realize that they disabled the comments on the video because it was getting that much crap. Okay, because it was that bad. Okay, absolute disgusting. Danner says Santa Inc. looks worse than a giraffe with AIDS sores as its spots.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so you say that there's no diversity in the different gender. Excuse me. Strong independent women. Oh, bullshit. Oh, I can name off a shitload of strong independent women: Buffy Summers, Sarah Connor, Beatrix Kiddo, aka the bride from Kill Bill, Laura Croft. Damn it, what was that? Damn it, I forgot about Princess Leia, Cara Dune, a bunch of other badass women.
Here's the point. Okay,
Ellen Ripley.
we don't mind
That's right.
diverse characters because, as we stated already, we've had plenty of diverse characters that were good characters, and the story focused on having good characters instead of selling the films on diversity. Don't follow Shang-Chi and the Eternals and their bullshit about, oh, you're going to be able to see yourself in a Marvel movie finally. That's not how the shit works. Because whenever you have kids that play on the playground, you know kids, okay? Kids will play with anybody they see. That's just how it is, okay? This idea that racism is not a born trait. It is something that is taught.
Absolutely. I agree.
Rusty says, I have pride in everything that makes me a unique human, my genetic heritage, my gender, everything I am. I'm very prideful, white, male, gay, blue-eyed, red-haired, Irish, skate, punk, metalhead. You're a very diverse individual, and there's nothing wrong with that.
To have an ale with you.
There's nothing wrong with that. And, we have good conversations. We have a similar taste in movies. We're fine. We're good. So don't believe what the media says about anything, whether it's the gender shit, the race shit, the sexuality bullshit. Don't believe it, because we can all find common ground. We can all learn to live with each other, because that's how we're here today. We're here because we all learn to coexist. We don't always have to interact with each other, and that's fine. You have your group of people. I have my group of people. Everyone has their own group of people. We all connect, associate with. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Somebody mentioned in the chat about that 5% elite. They're there to create conquer and divide, methods on the other 95%. And really, it doesn't 100% work, because it's just the media that makes it look worse than what it is. But we just got to fight against it.
Danner says, we want diverse characters and stories, just don't make their defining characteristics their skin color or gender. By the way, ultimate strong female character, Samus Aran. I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure, but Samus from Metroid.
Don't forget Alita.
That too.
Alita Battle Angel from the anime or the
manga.
So we're gonna have to wrap it up there, because we're kind of going over a little bit of a time limit. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you to Rusty, Danner, Bacon, Kyle, for coming in, supporting. If you guys missed it, check out our previous live stream that we just did about an hour ago with Peter Anthony, the director of Roseblood, a Friday the 13th fan film. Go check it out. I highly, highly recommend that you check out the Roseblood. It's a very fantastic film. We had a great talk with Peter Anthony. He's a great guy. Go show some love. And
my final words are from Rodney King. If he were still alive today, we have him say, why can't we just all get along?
Yeah. And look,
it's a good thing George Carlin. Sorry.
Yeah, agreed. No, I gotcha.
That's good, Carter. Yeah.
Just as a final word, turn off the mainstream media. Don't listen to Fox News, CNN, any of those nutheads, those clowns that trying to push division and shit. Don't listen to them, because we all live on the same planet. We all have to coexist, and a lot of us here, we have good relations. We have similar tastes in film, and we can relate to that. We can have good conversations. God, I forgot who said it, but there's a YouTuber I listen to, World Class Bullshitters. He always leaves off with his videos, always be excellent to each other. right?
Yeah.
And so I want to pass the message on to everyone here. I mean, everyone already does it for the most part, I'm sure, but be excellent to each other, enjoy good movies, and hey, it's almost the weekend, so that's something good to look forward to. And next week, Spider-Man: No Way Home. That's going to be exciting. But as always, there's the good and bad in cinema, and the war continues going forward, right? Rusty says, like they say in The Purge, fight the real enemy. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, with that all being said, thank you guys very much for your support. Thank you very much for listening, watching, tuning in. And until next time, my friends, welcome to the war.